Alright. What's up, everybody? We've got ourselves a big series here today. SERRAL in the top right side of the map, representing Basilisk, and Team Liquid's Mana in the bottom left side of the map. Mana, of course, is one of those famous players who turned into a bit of a content creator over the last few years, and in the last few months has actually had a resurgence. And I feel like Mana, whenever people have counted him out in the last few years, has always had a resurgence to being incredibly good. He was so close to eliminating MaxFax from a tournament a few weeks ago, barely let that one slip away. And on this game, he opened up with a very early probe to try and block the hatchery. But you can see SERRAL went for a 14 hatchery, I believe that was after Overlord. It was 14 or 15 hatchery. So he does get that hatchery down. Really nice call by SERRAL to avoid the disruption that Mana was looking for. And I feel like Mana is one of the best, small-scale micro players in the world. I've always said you put Mana down 50 supply and he becomes a god of StarCraft. And I've always said that's his big problem against Zerg. And why this is his problem matchup is, well, if you're down 50 supply and getting swarmed, it doesn't matter how godlike your micro is, right? Like, if you're just surrounded by so many Zerg units, there's nowhere to micro to. It's not like doing a stuttering retreat against Terran or another Protoss player. So it's going to be obviously a nearly impossible ask to take him down. Very few people would bet on Mana going into this. On the other hand, I feel like Mana has a very unencumbered way of playing. It feels like there's very little stress. Any victory is just a bonus for him right now. And he just feels very, very happy to try strategies out, see what works, see what doesn't mind taking risks, doesn't mind throwing out those crazy all-ins either. Now, of course, this group also has Hero and Spirit playing on the other side of the group, and it is, I believe, GSL format, so that means, you're going to end up with only 2 players out of 4 going through. SERRAL and Hero, the big favorites from the group, and we'll be covering a few of these matches. Hopefully we do get that Hero-SERRAL rematch at some point, which is, if it happens, the first time they've played since EWC. For now, though, Mana just chilling, didn't get his block down, harassed with his probe. He's going to not chrono the Adept, which means he's playing defensive, chrono-boosting probes, and going for a Stargate. Oh, probe, hello. Probe comes around. Looks like he was looking to pretend to maybe block the expansion, but not going to be able to get it. SERRAL, of course, has completely pulled off gas. 0 wasted gas mining this early. He knows it's all about the minerals, the lava injects, the early creep tumor as well, going to spread forwards. And I do wonder where SERRAL wants to take his 4th base. I know I love the 4th up top. Some Zergs like this one, and it's been good to see players move away from this lower value base. These 6 mineral bases with the purple gas really not offering that much to the players that take them. Oracle starts up there as well. All right. Okay, so I think this is going to be interesting because for me, it's like, where do you pivot to a special game? You can't just play late game as Mana. I can't imagine that's going to be a great play, even though that's the advantage of Protoss versus Zerg right now. Getting there against SERRAL without him just having 90 drones at the 6-minute mark and that sort of thing is very difficult. So even if you want to play a macro game, you need to feign aggression. You need to, run forward, try and scare the crap out of him a bit. Get him to play a bit overly safe or it's not going to work out too well. Stalker will get back in the wall off there. Adept hiding at the 3rd. And so far, so good for Mana, who's going to go for a very quick robo. Very quick robo after single Oracle. Okay, modified macro build, that's for sure. I think he's going to go... Do you think this is Colossus, guys? Or do you think he's just playing single Oracle for defense and then he's basically just going to go straight Immortal Storm? Because if you just go straight Immortal Archon, Charged Storm, unless Serral hits you with like a Nidus Swarm Host, which you won't have the mobility to deal with since you have no Blink, only 1 Oracle, you could just get to a big, solid, powerful army very early. On the other hand, if you're going to cut probes and even go for 3 more gateways already... I mean, this feels like Warp Prism into Templar Archives, like he's going to do the old Archon drop. Single Oracle into Archon drop, very old school. It does transition quite nicely into that Storm Immortal style, but of course you do it with a bit of forward pressure early on, and there we go, Templar Archives is on the way, this is it. That's going to be a fast Archon drop behind Oracle. Should be hitting by about 5:30. SERRAL's already got a lair, a Roach Horn, and a 2nd gas on the way, though. I'd like to see a 4th hatchery before 6 minutes for SERRAL, since this is a pretty economic play for Mana. We'll see how much he feels like he's got to rush that. Stasis Trap's going to try and block that 4th base. Hey, good little delay. Gets there just in time, does Mana. SERRAL's drone gets frozen. Going to go to the other base now as well. Does SERRAL go to take another expansion? It's interesting. I haven't seen another drone head out for SERRAL. So maybe he's just going to wait for that to unfreeze and take it in the same location. 2 Archons on the front ready to arrive. 5 Queens, only 5 Queens. They're going to struggle with the Archon drop. It's all about the Roaches, which are now producing to deal with that. 6 gases up behind this. Forge on the way. Observer, no doubt Immortal production will be soon behind that as well. Shield Battery in the depth in the third base. Lings can focus the battery down. Nice move here for SERRAL. As at the same time, the Archons take out an Overlord and a Creep Tumor on the other side. Battery's going to go down, but... you know, it's a bunch of Zerglings fall. I don't think any probes died, so it's not too bad. Good pullback micro for SERRAL. Mana's going to warp in Zealots on the front. He cannot afford to lose an Archon, though. And he does have to back away. I think he just warped in those Zealots, but then seeing the Roach count says, let's not throw these units away. I've forced a response. And SERRAL responding even harder now, saying, you don't have Phoenix. You've only got 1 Oracle. You don't have Blink. Not off this build. You never do. So I'm going to go Spire. And that's smart. That's a very smart move for SERRAL to counter Mana's style. Mana's going second Robo. I expect Storm in the near future for Mana as well. Thing run by comes in. These probes need to fight, and Adept needs to help out a bit as well. Oracle comes back to defend. 3 probes going down. Great catch there for SERRAL. Does lose his Zerglings, though. Units lost tab is in favor of Mana. And he delayed that 4th base. So it's kind of... he's done a good job of not letting SERRAL get too far ahead. On the other hand... SERRAL's droning the 4th. He's already up 6 workers. Mana does not have his 3rd fully mining, even though it is about 640 right now. But Storm coming in. Second Robo's almost ready. I don't know. It feels like I've seen this game before. I feel like I've seen this game of Hearthstone versus SERRAL in the same situation. And I go, this looks pretty decent. And then, like, the Mutas swoop in. You don't quite see it coming. They kill 15 probes. The Roachling swarms half of the army on the front, while the other half of the army is trying to go into the main to defend the Mutas. And suddenly it just ends at this, like, very crisp moment when the Zerg's up 50, 60 supply. For Mana, I think the quest is to stay on 3 base. Don't try to take a 4th. Because SERRAL doesn't have an infestation. He doesn't have a hive. He doesn't have a late game setup. And too many players are worried about facing SERRAL in the late game. I think Mana's playing really smart by saying, no, just sit on 3 base, dude. I don't need to worry about late game just yet. Good pullbacks on the probes. And as the Archons come back, not to mention Storm kicking in, good pullback for SERRAL. Just grabs a few probes, runs away. Oh, Mana. Oh, barely saves the Archons. Good save, good save. A little bit of sloppiness for a moment there, but Mana saves it. Immortal Zealot, Cannon Battery in the natural. Mana hanging on pretty well right now. I feel like he's doing what he needs to potentially defend this. That Immortal needs to go right, though. That Immortal does get isolated out there. He's going to have to use the Warp Prism. Very nicely done. And you don't really want to attack into a wall off with a Cannon, a Battery, and Immortal there. Good setup for Mana. Unfortunately, Mana's main base is a little open, but wait, he's got 2 Archons in a Prism. Not to mention a pack of Stalkers here, and SERRAL's Mutalisks are not going to find a lot of angle, not a lot of purchase on this base. Warp Prism Archon still chasing after this. 2 cannons, 3 cannons in the natural. My gosh. Mutas have got no way in there at all. Mutas do go back out front, but there's a Phoenix there, and SERRAL has to back away. He's been forced to Hive Tech. +1 range is about to finish for him, so he does have a good transition. He's on 81 workers, and he is going to 5 base while Mana's 4th has just started. The problem here is, yes, you've got an economic lead, but what's that army right now? Roaches, Mutas, units that are going to be useless in big maxed out fights. So SERRAL needs to keep trading. He needs to find ways to get rid of these units, replace them with Lurkers, with Hydras, potentially a few Vipers as well. And he needs to do that sooner rather than later. Great reaction by SERRAL. Sets off a stasis, only gets 2 Roaches and a Zergling frozen. But Mana's defense has been rock solid. 4th base got cancelled, but now he rebuilds the 4th. SERRAL's going to go Hive. Now, you might think, but, you know, well, you've been down a base, going to be 2 bases now for a little while. This is really bad as Protoss, isn't it, Pig? Well, don't get me wrong. You're behind in total resources, mate. The thing is, you have a better late-game army as Protoss. You really do, right? You've got Mothership, you've got Tempests, you've got Storms. Zerg army's really good, and arguably SERRAL's just going to be better at controlling it than Mana in the late game. But there is an idea that, like, if you can just survive to maxing out, then you can take a 4th, then you can take a 5th, then you can, you know, worry about economy later. Because what the real scary thing for Protoss players against Zerg is in the mid game, all these cheap Zerg units swarming in, surrounding you, killing your expensive units when they're still in low numbers. Now, did those Mutas just kill all the Phoenix? Or looks like there's still 1 Phoenix on the map, but there's a red hit point 1. With the battery, though, should be able to deal with these Mutalisks. Takes, I think, 6 or 7 shots to kill a Mutalisk. Mutalisk's taking about 15 or 16 to kill a Phoenix. And they attack slower as well. Dude, this is a beautiful Roachling counter to cancel this base. SERRAL's going to cancel this base. Mana's continuing with his attack at the same time. Nexus gets killed, not cancelled. Mana does kill the 5th base, but he can't take out that giant wall of spines on the left side. This is how Serral's using that money advantage. He says, I can defend the top left with spines. I can still trade out my cheap units without engaging into Storm and Mortal Archon, where they're not going to be very useful. Mana left his High Templar hanging out. Ooh, this is a lesson I've learned the hard way, and that is when you are using your army split, always keep the High Templar on a separate hotkey. That's something I learned the hard way after having that exact same scenario happen way too many times. I used to be really reliant on putting the High Templar on a different hotkey, but that situation would happen too much. If I was defending at home, fighting in 2 places, and managing 3 different control groups of army plus a High Templar group, too often those High Templar would just get left behind or exposed a little bit, and I would end up losing them. And it looks like Mana's still using that older technique that we used to always use, which was, hey, I want my spellcasters on a special control group, and Serral punished him for that really hard. Slight mistakes for Mana, not things that would have been punished 10 years ago in StarCraft. In fact, this would be near perfect play 10 years ago in StarCraft from Mana. But the tiniest little openings are all Serral needs to start finding that crazy value. Still trying to trade out these low-tier units on the left side. The Oracle has just been such a good unit, though, for defending with these stasis traps time and again. Serral sees it. His eyeballs are sharp. Sentry Warpin's great here. I love the Sentry Warpin. That's just going to stop them from getting through the wall. And the Roach Hydra kills the cannon, kills the Zealot, and has to run away. Now he's going to just trade. He says, going to get run down anyway. Zealot Archon starts to chase him on the right side. Oh my god, a rogue of lurkers right there. 18 lurkers. 18 lurkers, 11 hydras. What in the heck is going on, guys? Oh my gosh, what the fudge? Dude, that is a lot of lurkers. Nexus on the 5th base didn't get spotted, so it's still going up. Is there an argument that Mana could still win this game? With Corruptors coming out, I don't think so. I think if he was too stubborn to go Corruptors, maybe. But look at that, Lurker counterattack. So many Lurkers at home. You're never going to punch through that. And when these Corruptors come out, they're going to ruin the Tempest, the Observers, the Warp Prism really hard. Roach Lurker clearing the Gateway Wall off on the natural. Serral's 5th base does go down again, but he's got a new 5th base up north. Corruptors coming forward. Observer number 1 goes down. Overseer's a little bit too far back. Storms do cover the retreat for now. Cybercore's gone. Needing detection at home right now is Mana. Mana have very few units that shoot up, which means these Tempests only have 2 Archons to defend them, and Serral's gonna pounce. Grabs himself a Tempest, grabs himself a Warp Prism. Doesn't even have that many Corruptors, but that's a very high value win there. Now, where are these Observers? They're coming all the way home. Looks like he might use the Oracle. The Oracle will revelate the Tempests. Gonna clean up those Lurkers. Probably should think about jumping on top. Surprised Serral didn't unburrow and try to run to the left to kind of lure that army further away. Corruptors do come in and grab themselves another Tempest. They do. Storm goes down. A couple of Corruptors do get popped. But it feels like Serral's got the money to burn. And as long as he keeps these small-scale fights going, keeps trading his units out, keeps Mana's supply kind of low, and keeps Mana off these expansions, which he continues to do, this is just a technical kind of shaving down of his Protoss opponent, not letting him get going, not letting him get established. If you guys are watching live, by the way, please type in the chat. I haven't seen a single message in chat in about 10-15 minutes, so I'm not sure if my chat's dead or not, or if it's just a bunch of people who've got StarCraft on their second monitor at the start of today. Oh, it is on. Might still have a lot of Euros on at this time who watched this last night, as I've just woken up to the replays in my inbox and said, oh, let's cast this group. Corruptors do go down, a bunch of those shots there. Immortal Storms and High Templar are there. Tempest starting to pick off units. Lurker's going down. Man, this is just so technical for Serral. Mana's doing a really good job of not like throwing all of his Tempests away or anything. He is swapping Void Rays, which is a massive gamble. Void Rays can be really good for dealing with Corruptors, but of course they're very weak to Vipers, Parasitic Bomb, Fungal, those sort of things. The Observer Tempest poking forward, starting to get good value. Dude, Mana's army is not bad, and Serral doesn't have a lot of gas bank. This is the one worrying thing. I'm actually amazed that Mana's playing this late game as well as he is, because I always thought Serral would just be 1,000 times more experienced in endgame PvZ than Mana, but even though he's winning this game right now, Mana's putting up a very good fight, and one has to wonder if Mana has just been practicing the heck out of this style specifically. Immortal Archon Tempest blasting out there. 5th Nexus goes down. Mana's income's going to be down to almost nothing. Serral spending his last money remaxing on Hydras, +3 range, +1 carapace upgrade to go with his air, and more Corruptors. Remember, the Tempests don't have any upgrades. Upgrades aren't that important for Tempests, But of course, they would add a little bit of value here. They're much more important for carriers. Oh no, Block get jumped on by the lurkers. That's a disaster for Mana. His Void Rays have joined the front. Mana is feeling especially all in right now. I think one thing we could criticize Mana for, guys, is he's been very bad at building new detection and leaving it at home. You can see he's kind of, I don't know if he's been F2ing it to the front or just rallying to the front, but those Void Rays just never ended up cleaning up those lurkers, and it's really forcing him into a desperate position, whereas a single Void Ray with an Observer could have cleaned this all up by now, so that's going to be a big issue. Chat says Mana's getting schooled. This is so much better than I ever expected Mana to play late game, guys. I would not say this is getting schooled. Definitely Serral's winning, but here we go. Storm's going down on the Corruptors right now. Big storms all over those Corruptors. Tempest trying to pull back. Once the Archons are gone, the Corruptors will reign supreme, and that is going to be good enough for Serral. I mean, don't get me wrong, that was incredibly technical for Serral. That was incredibly technical. Units lost tab is ahead 4,000 resources, but I love the way he split his army. The Roach, like, think about it from, like, the first time the Roaches ran into this third at about 8 minutes and started killing probes. 7 minutes even. Remember, Roaches came in, killed a few probes, ran away. Roach Ling came in, cancelled the fourth while Mana was pushing. Roach Hydra and Roach Ling hit this side about 7 different times in this game. Lurkers hit this base and this base 4 or 5 different times, often while defending a frontal attack. This was like classic top-tier Zerg play, where whenever the Protoss tries to pressure you, or the Terran, or whatever your opponent is, whenever the opponent tries to be the guy who goes first, you have just enough units to punish him and say, haha, you moved out, I'm going to punish you with a counterattack, and enough to defend at home. So this was like just really lovely play for Serral. I love it. Serral looks like he's been practicing pretty hard recently, back in form after a bit of break in the off-season, and he's looking really good. All right, guys, looks like Mana in the top left side of the map now, and Serral did get his expansion blocked in this game, so he's had to take the third base on King's Cove. This map's giant. Who blocks an expansion on this map? So what's happened here is basically, I think we can surmise that Serral thought, well, I can just go for a normal 16 hatchery build, no worries. And Mana sent one of his like first probes, very first probes across the map, committed to the block, and Serral's like, fine, okay, I guess I have to take the awkward base. I mean, it's still a giant rush distance, so something like double adept pressure probably isn't too scary here. Then again, the distance from main to third base is pretty far. Is he going to chrono it? No, goes for an adept and just chronos probes. Mana's playing the very economic opening. He's saying, I don't want to interact with you. I can chrono probes as well as the best Protoss in the world, but I can't necessarily harass Serral and get ahead, because even the best Protosses in the world struggle to do that. Oh, he's going to try and block the third as well. Oh, he goes for the Spite Pylon, but Serral did commit to 4 Zerglings, which is very safe. If it's only 2 Zerglings, they can't out-DPS the Pylon while it's building, and that's actually really huge. We're talking about dried fruit just before and how it's like candy because it's so easy to eat. It does have fiber and stuff in it and everything as well. Yeah, it's not as bad. It's crazy how much of it you can eat though, right? Whereas when you're eating like fresh fruit, it's like it's you know, kind of hard to gorge. Yeah, it's weird. Does anyone here like old lady dried fruit candy stuff? My mom loves that like candied ginger stuff. She would always have that around when I was growing up, and I had some of that recently, and I was like, this truly is like a grandma candy, isn't it? It's like it's basically just like intense ginger flavor covered in sugar. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Third Nexus is there. I do like it though, despite it being odd. Oh, this is the Clem build. Goes to the Clem build. Mana's doing the Clem build. This works for Serral because Serral's very greedy. Serral very rarely Ling Floods, especially with the new Oracle start. And he's not even walling off with the second gateway. He's walling off with a Robo. It's third Nexus into Robo after single Oracle. Stalker to deny the Overlord. And I think he's going to do the same build, guys. I think we're going to see a Twilight Council in a moment in that main base. Keep your eye on it. Constant probe production. He's going to have 150 minerals. Builds the Twilight Council. Exact same build. Exact same build, except maybe even a greedier third than the last time. This is awesome. All right, what do we got? We've got fully mining third, aka natural, main base as well. And you can see, why are they oversaturated, guys? Why isn't he rallying? Because the spore's not ready. His queen coverage isn't there. He's expecting an oracle. So now he's like, okay, I've got 3 queens here. I've got spore and a queen here, spore and a queen here. Now I can transfer those drones. And notice he also escorts. See how those queens moved over to escort the drones as they transferred? That was a little risky if an oracle came through the middle, but he realized these were the only ways where an oracle could surprise him, is these little gaps in Serral's vision. And he knew he'd be able to get back to defend the third in time, even though there's no sport, if it came in from that angle. Oracle came in, got itself 1 kill, guys. Just a single Zergling, actually. No, it didn't get a drone, and it did take a little bit of damage. But I think Mana's decided, don't even try to do direct damage. Just use this to spam stasis traps like in the last game. In this map, it's very hard for Zerg to be aggressive, because this is a narrow choke point. The third base is also just a ramp leading into it, a single direction. The fourth base on the low ground is quite open, but it's also in a very central position, right? You take this fourth out here, your army just sits here and defends everything from one spot. Unless the Zerg can drop you, Nidus Worm you, or go for Mass Mutalisk, they're going to struggle. And that's why what I'd like to see here from SERRAL is a commitment to Mass Mutalisk. I think if you can get 5 bases, 10 gases up, you can overwhelm with Mass Mutalisk against Mana's build quite easily, because he won't have Blink. He's only going to have 1 Stargate Phoenix production reactively. So I really feel like what we need to see from SERRAL is a bigger commitment to Mutalisk. Mutas is good against this, but stop doing this really conservative Mutalisk play like in the last game, and then you can just finish him off. Now, don't get me wrong, he got himself in a fine position. He did keep him off a 4th base and then slowly wore him down, but there's always the risk of you delaying your Hive Tech too long. Then again, he's just going to go straight Hydra Den, so never mind. She's going Hydra straight away. No Evo, no Infestation. SERRAL's doing... Are you doing an all-in, mate? Nice Archon pressure so far, guys. Picking off a few Zerglings. The Roaches and Lings trying to deal with it. Prism's just going to pick those up, pull away. I'm looking for that Infestation pick, guys. I don't see it. This looks like SERRAL wants to play a Roach Hydra attack. Now, check this out. If Mana rushes a 4th base, he cannot defend that. He cannot defend a 4th at all. But if he gives up the 4th, pulls back to the high ground with a Mortal Storm, Roach Hydra can't do anything to him. SERRAL is making an Infestation Pit now, but it's a belated Infestation Pit and drones. 6 minutes 40. I know that sounds weird, but on a big greedy map like this is actually kind of late to go Infestation Pit. Ish. Not late, but you know, a little late. It's a little delayed, I guess I should say. 76 drones to 67. 10 more workers on the way. SERRAL's playing late game. He's not going to go for that Roach Hydra attack. It's interesting that he went for the Hydra Den so early. It does feel like he was thinking about it. I mean, obviously you can get a few Hydras to just help defend the Archon drop. It allows your creep to blossom out there a bit better. 4th Nexus goes down way earlier this game. That's a King's Cove play. And Mana's going to take it on the top, because I guess it's not as exposed as the middle one. That does make sense. The middle one, you can set up like a Roach Hydra concave that covers like 3 screens. So that actually makes sense to expand up here, where you defend choke point there, choke point there. They're big choke points, but at least they are somewhat closed off on the edges. Pig, it was really cool to see Haas again. He's one of my favorite cheeses. Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, Haas and Bly are just such creative, fun players, and you know, it's fascinating to watch people gamble in StarCraft, and you know, it's kind of cool. Like the modern version of StarCraft is actually awesome, and it has a lot of strategy in it. You know, Milky Cow actually messaged me. I was like, I'm not sure StarCraft 2 doesn't have any strategy after that video, and I was like, I was like, look, man, don't get me wrong. It's hard to put complex concepts into a thumbnail and a title. But like, I would never say StarCraft doesn't have strategy. I would just say that a lot of the classic RTS strategy, you know, if I want to clarify, is not there. In terms of Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, Brood War, Age of Empires, and a lot of other games, there's often a lot of ways you can do sorts of gambles and hide things and stuff that don't exist as much in modern StarCraft. And it was really cool to throw out imbalanced maps and to do the very random variable start and really push 2 players who already are pretty much always already going to play like that. But it felt like they had even more crazy options available to them, and the openings were even more messed up and stuff. It was just fascinating to watch. I thought those games were really fun. Might run a tournament on that one day. Archon Mortal Storm on the right side, Roach Hydra on the left coming in. Oh, I love the defense for Mana, though. Look at this. Look at this defensive setup. Now, obviously, Frenzy's on the way for the Hydras, a.k.a. what's it called? Nanomuscular Swell. Oh, sorry, guys. Mana just had to do a PP. We saw he just typed PP. Guys, if someone types PP in game, means they need to go do piddles. Definitely doesn't mean please pause. No, he probably had some sort of tech issue there. Just kidding, guys. Of course, we're casting this off the replay. That's going to be Spire for Corruptors. Nidus Worm to try and get Lurkers in behind. But Mana's done a very good job of defending. He's got a big 85 worker economy. And he's going Fleet Beacon and Second Forge. So he's just playing to the late game. This is crazy. I never thought I'd see Mana play to the late game against SERRAL, because Mana's always been like a small to medium scale micro player. He started as a Warcraft 3 player as a young lad. And it always was his style in StarCraft 2. But interesting to see him just embrace what is the big strength of Protoss First Zerg right now and practice this late game style. Oh, oh. Storms are good, but he doesn't have enough to actually kill the Hydras. And this is always scary. Great move for SERRAL. Dude, that swell was huge. Gets 2 Immortals, gets 2 High Templar. And you can see how, yeah, that's just really tough to deal with. Pig, how did he know how to split defense? He just knows that if SERRAL can't really push through Psystorm if he's got like 3-4 Storms, a few Archons, a few Immortals together. Like, the reason that side was so weak is there was no Archons or Zealots there and only 2 Storms. If he had 1 more Storm, a few Archons, SERRAL could not have done that. So by default, once you get past a certain point, you just keep your army split in 2 squads. And if SERRAL hits one side with his whole army, you pull back that side, you do sort of a fighting retreat, and then your other side comes in to either flank him or hit him from the other side, you know, try and support your army. So having your army split in 2 groups is kind of just standard as the game goes longer, especially when you're playing a very slow turtley style like Mana is, because you know that your opponent catching you out of position is what could go wrong. Speaking of going wrong, 2 High Templar in the open. Storms pop a few Hydras, but losing 2 High Templar for it. A great trade. Oh, SERRAL going for a crazy drop. There's 3 cannons and a battery and a Zealot on that side. SERRAL commits anyway. Does lose an Overlord or 2. The cannons will kill a few of these units. High Templar drops a nice Storm as well. Mana already really softening these units up. But you don't want to lose this Nexus because Mothership is building there. I love the idea of doing the drop right now, but it doesn't look like it's going to find game-ending damage. The Immortal Archon High Templar move through. 1 more Storm on those Lurkers could be nice, but it looks like Mana just clicking on those units as best he can, and only a single Hydralisk gets out of there. And not even that, because SERRAL actually idling a little bit. He's distracted by the big army on his side of the map, not to mention his other Roach Hydra attack comes in, but there's Cannon and Immortal Zealot there as well. Mana going for a counterattack, a vicious counterattack. The thing is, he's deep in SERRAL's territory, and you can see all of that red coalescing. They're all coming back in this direction, ready to clot up the wound to defend the infection. This is a problem right now for Mana. He does not want to lose all these important units. Is he killing a lot of drones in the natural? Yes. But I think he's going to lose a lot of Immortal Archon in the process. Then again, he's pushing at the same time. I can't believe it. He's pushing through the middle. He should hit that base on the left. If he could take out the drones on that base as well, this might actually be worth losing all these important units. He's got double Robo, rebuilding Immortal behind this. He's got 3-1 upgrades on the way. This is really good because this is keeping the game messy. It's keeping SERRAL worried about the ground army without him even having to go Tempests. And of course, he can still add the Tempest behind this. The Immortal Archon Storm trying to fight. That's a lot of Hydras though. Oh, but wait, Mama comes in. Just when I thought the fight was looking bad for Mana, Mama comes in. Beautiful Storms, clicks the hatchery and disengage. You got to disengage. You've only got 1 Storm to cover your retreat. Those Hydras will be able to swell after you if you don't watch out, but he's going to unsiege the Prism. He's going to rotate left. Mana, the Chad gamer, staying on the front lines. I can't believe it. He's going to look for another hatchery snipe. The greedy boy. But you know what? He's up in supply right now. SERRAL, his big drop did not pay off. He's behind 5,000 resources in the units lost. And he's going to go for another counterattack because he knows he can't fight this. He's down to 5 bases, which is fine for 12 minutes. You don't mind being on 5 bases. He can rebuild them. It was more the worker losses and the raw resource lost value of the hatcheries, of the extractors, of the drones that cost him. Forces a recall, gets a few things, and then just swells out of there. 5 base first, 5 base. Mana's going to be very happy with this as the Tempests start to come in. He's got himself a 2nd Stargate building. And I wouldn't mind seeing some Cybercore upgrades as well as him going into Plasma Shields now that +3 attack, +1 armor are finishing. So what does SERRAL do, guys? I honestly feel like you need to play Spellcaster. Oh! He didn't play Spellcaster in the last game. This worries me. I think the way you're going to outskill Mana here and use your better late game and your better mechanics is Vipers. You come in with Vipers, abduct Mama, abduct the Prism, grab a few Archons and Immortals. Now you might say, but he'll just feedback him, Pig. High Templar over there. We've seen in the last game, Mana's High Templar management is not his strongest suit. He's left them out a few times, right? Like, he's playing good, but there are openings. Right now, once again, Mothership is not defended from Vipers. That's what SERRAL needs to play here. Oh, you can't abduct the Mothership. Good point from chat. But you can abduct all the other units. Every other unit you can abduct. So grab the Immortals, grab the Archons, grab the Prism. You can even abduct the High Templar if you think your opponent's not watching. One of my favorite moves is watching Vipers abduct Ghosts and being like, please don't be looking. And sometimes the Ghost gets abducted, doesn't get insta-killed, and it like EMPs all of the Vipers, and you're like, oh, this is sad. But you know what else is sad, guys? SERRAL, because he's getting blitzed at home. Then again, his counterattack's looking pretty damn sick. Mana's all over it. Immortal Storm crushing SERRAL's 4th and 5th. And SERRAL, he's so worried about what's going on. His Lurkers are going to hit the 4th base now. 5th base of Mana. The 4th of Mana is already dead. Hydras find those workers behind the mineral line. That's a good pickoff. SERRAL doesn't have the money to work with. Mana does. Mana enjoys these trades. He embraces these trades because they are going to favor him. Oh, that's not good for him, though. Great pullback. Dude, Mana's managing his army so well right now. He's played King's Cove excellently. And it's really interesting to see how he plays this one out. Now, you know, King's Cove, Neon Violet Square, these are mega turtle maps. Abyssal as well has some pretty nasty choke points and a pretty long rush distance on it. It is interesting to see how long the rush distance was and how easy it was to defend bases on these old maps for your first 3 bases. And that's always going to be something that Protoss players enjoy. Like, this is the Protoss map out of this series, no doubt. I don't know what map 3 could potentially be on, but Mana, you know, if there's a map he's got to take advantage of, it's this one, and that's exactly what he's done. Rush to 85 workers while applying little bits of harassment pressure, but not overcommitting, not going too hard on oracles, because we know Serral's oracle defense is top tier, and I really like this single oracle opening. I think the real meme for Mana, if he can close this game out, is you want to go 2 Stargate Oracle in the next game, because Serral's not going to expect more than 1 oracle. So that's like the real meme is that, oh no, Mana, leaving 4 Immortals hanging out. Serral swells forward and gets 3 of those Immortals. That's some big value. You can't afford that Mana. The whole point of this game is you're meant to be more efficient. Nidus Worm in the back with Lurkers inside. Only a single Zealot warping in. There's a Tempest nearby though. And Serral would be crazy to unload into Tempest Zealot. Good defense. I mean, you want to deal with the Overlord as well, don't you? Okay, I was like, Mana, don't just leave the Overseer there, mate. Nidus popping on the right side as well, guys. Hydras are over there denying that 4th base from being rebuilt. Looks like the Overseer up top got shot down. Drop on the left side. Serral's trying to use that amazing multi-prong. Problem is, he's doing it with a lower army supply than the Protoss. Right now, guys, imagine you're going into warfare. You have 3 swords, 1 set of chainmail. You've got 1 bow, a quiver of arrows. You and your buddies are like, okay, we can create a pretty good force. You look across, there's a modern infantry battalion. We're talking modern rifles. We're talking machine guns, Kevlar. We're talking mortars, bloody all the things. There's grenades. There's all sorts of stuff. As a Zerg, you want to have 10,000 Urakai against your couple of opponents, because you are always going to be using the sort of slightly lower value units. You need the numbers, you need the money, and right now Serral doesn't have that. He needs a perfect engagement. He's going to look for those Vipers that we were talking about. He gets a few nice abducts. I feel like these Vipers have been missing, though, this entire series. Tempest gets away on red hit points. Only 1 goes down. Lurker counterattack on the high ground. Barely gets sniped. The cannon did provide the vision there. Zealots in the natural get 9 drones as well. Mana playing such a good multi-prong active game. And who the hell had this on their bingo card? Mana taking down Serral in a late game. Yeah, it's a good map for Protoss, but still, in 2024, the guy who's been focusing on his YouTube channel, doing fun challenges, and just kind of having fun with the game, as well as playing a lot of Stormgate and other games over the last few months. I mean, I'm pretty sure Mana's played more Stormgate than StarCraft over the last 6 months, right? I'm pretty sure that is the case. Ooh, High Templar going to storm those Hydras. Mana is rich, but he's not on 200 supply. I don't think he needs to be on 200 supply right now. I think the Tempest count is the only thing he needs to increase. And he wants to keep sending Zealots in to kill tech, kill drones, and he also wants to use them to defend enemy counterattacks. So sometimes being at max is actually not really helping you, right? If you're just going around chipping at your opponent the way Mana is, you're not really busting through angles. You just need to have enough Archon Storm to defend the Corruptors, enough feedback to deal with the Vipers, Tempest to pick at him from afar, and some supply free to keep on sending Zealots in. So I think sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, always, I've been streaming StarCraft for 15 years now. There's a lot of people in StarCraft who basically just think, you know, like, no matter how late it is, no matter how efficiency focused, they're like, but you're not maxed out. And you're like, yeah, it's so. Like, if you're fighting constantly trying to kill each other, yeah, you need every unit on the front lines. But if you're shaving each other down in a battle of efficiency, it's not always super important to just be spending that money immediately, right? Sometimes it's more important to just take better fights. And if it's a series of small skirmishes, sometimes, especially as Protoss with that warp-in capability, leaving, you know, 20, 30 supply free is actually a pretty good tactical choice in certain situations. Zealots on the right side going to get cleaned up by the Hydras. Dude, Serral with some nice Hydra mobility. Hydra's on the right there. Nidus Hydra here. He's going to try and pop another Nidus in the back door at some point. For now, it looks like he might be bringing them home. I think the big problem he has is no Corruptors. So even with the Ducks, he can't kill these Tempests. And oh my gosh, where's the Overseers? Oh my god, the bust! The bust for Mana! But the Overseers came down, the Lurkers did re-borrow. That was an amazing choice. Mana saw the Overseers were a little out of position, and he crushes Serral. Don't often see Serral with a bit of panic there on the repositioning, but let's rewind and show you guys that one more time, because basically what happened here is Serral was just buying time, slowly getting shaved down by the Tempest, pulling back the Lurkers, And then he pulled the Overseers too far back. These guys were a bit too far to the right. There's a lot of things going on all over the map at once. So he pulls these guys back. And then that Overseer goes down. And Mana's like, you know what? I don't see any other Overseers. And SERRAL doesn't quite have detection, so he busts in, forces SERRAL to unburrow his lurkers. And by the time the Overseers get there, yes, he reburrows. But already you've got Mana getting multiple volleys of attacks off, busting the lurkers, getting the Immortals in. Normally the lurkers have a range advantage, but he just gets completely stomped there. And Mana showing excellent late game on King's Cove. I think what I loved about that game is how well he managed multiple fights and the sort of crazy counterattack into the natural combined with that army that went through the middle, took out this base, and took out this base. At no point did Mana let himself get put in a corner defensively, stuck on turtling. Yes, he turtled early game, but from there, he really took charge of the map. Beautiful play for Mana. All right. What's up? Game 3 is here. I have kittens running around my ankles as we cast. We'll see if they're a distraction or not. Just fostering 2 kittens we got yesterday. We're just showing those on the stream in between the games. So I apologize if I'm a little bit distracted, but once again, a very early probe. And he just wants to do that, doesn't he? He just wants to send that probe across at the very start for SERRAL to take the 3rd hatchery. Gonna go for that in a moment. 3rd hatchery does go down on the left. Now, there is an argument behind taking this side, and that is if you're obsessed with triangle bases that are really hard to defend and also really annoying because there's a Warp Prism here and Archon drop can rotate between these two. On this side, we've seen a lot of Archon drop. If the Archon drop runs from this base, there's no way to get to another base without going directly through an area that's controlled by creeps and queen. You can also easily cut off this angle so it can't really slide past there. Whereas on this side, they can attack this base, drop in the main, bring too many queens to the main, bring back to the low ground. So I think against what Mana's been playing, this makes perfect sense for SERRAL to play in this way. That was game 2 Apex AP, that last one we watched. This is game 3 now. Game 1 was Ley Lines, which SERRAL won. Game 2, Mana just won on King's Cove. I think the scoreboard said 1-0 for SERRAL, didn't it, for most of that game? I believe it did. If not, I apologize for not having the scoreboard up. Second gas goes down. Yeah, a lot of people like triangle bases because it gets the creep further forward. It's easier to launch an all-in off this base because you've already got your queens closer to their base, especially if you like take those rocks down. Your queens can get across really quickly with the old queen walk strategies, but SERRAL's not really one for those. SERRAL and things that he considers a gamble that doesn't have a particularly high percentage. Remember, if you're SERRAL, you have like a 90% win rate in this matchup, so if an all-in doesn't have a 90% plus win rate, you're going to consider that low odds. And that's kind of the special thing. Adepts on the way. Warp gates coming in as well. Pig, when is the last date to confirm that SC2 will be part of the Esports World Cup in 2025? I have no idea. Apparently, the actual EWC tournament wasn't verified last year in the last season until February, someone said. On the other hand, I think we already knew that Katowice was being supported as a partnered tournament for EWC. Like, we kind of knew there was a circuit happening. We just didn't know the exact details of it. Wife's come in trying to find the kittens, but he's doing his circuit, and Pants is not going to escape. He loves my streaming setup in here. He's got light stands to jump over, green screens to climb under. He's having a bloody blast right now. And Dot's trying to lure him out, I think, with toys, but this is a near impossibility. He loves it in my gaming room. He's like, oh, computers cables to climb over? Heck yeah. Sorry guys, this is just too funny. Right now my wife's got the toy on the end of the rod. Dot does, and she's trying to like wave it around. It's got like a worm on the end to lure him out. Oh, she's finally got his attention. He's starting to go for it. Third Nexus coming up now. Third Nexus into Robo again. Feels like maybe not quite as greedy as the previous game, but still in the same vein of rather efficient. Stalker wants that Overlord kill. Will he be able to get it? Zerglings are trying to save the Overlord. I don't think they can manage to do so. You can see SERRAL's trying to block it, but Mana escorts it over with the turned on Oracle, gets the Overlord, and SERRAL has to back off. SERRAL didn't really commit anything for that. You can see you already had 2 Overlords building, so the supply block is pretty much non-existent. It's just the 100 mineral value, the extra lava that has to be spent that really costs it. Yeah. We have good info from Twitch chat regarding EWC. According to their website, the last game that was part of the tournament will be announced in 21 days. They do have a countdown page, so I guess start of Feb is when you want to kind of chuck that one in your calendar. Check back 1st, 2nd of Feb. Check their website, and yeah, you'll find. If you just search the Esports World Cup, it's up there. They do have a bunch of timers. I'm not sure if they're all perfectly accurate or not, but we'll see how it goes. I'm still actually, I think Rotterdam said it in a way, I believe, oddly positive about it, which I think people think I'm crazy, but people have thought I'm crazy for thinking StarCraft 2 esports would continue for the last 10 years. And I've said, well, what other RTS is going to grab the hearts and souls of competitive gamers that love strategy games and grew up with RTS games? And I said, I love AoE too, but for whatever reason, you know, it seems to have its own thing going on, and EWC hasn't really shown a big interest in it for whatever reason. And that's the only other game I could see taking the mantle of StarCraft in terms of a big... If you're claiming to be the big world championship of esports across many titles, you've got to have a real-time strategy game in there. You know, chess doesn't take its place. And I think there's been a lot of knee-jerk reactions of people saying, oh, but look, but they put chess in. That's the new real-time strategy game. And I'm like... it just reminds me how weirdly panicked StarCraft fans get when they don't have, like, a big company saying, we give you money for big tournament. And they just start making things up. Like, no one ever said chess was replacing StarCraft as an RTS. Anyone who says that is clearly making a joke. The number of people in the StarCraft community who are panicking about that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you guys even understand what a real-time strategy is? Like, don't get me wrong. If someone actually heard, and there was an inside source saying, yeah, apparently they figure that's going to cover up strategy games. They actually like chess more than StarCraft. They're not big fans of StarCraft for whatever reason. They're going to, you know, swap it in. Okay, that's something else. But saying that's going to... Like, people were just, like, guessing that fills that category, and that's just crazy. Chess is literally turn-based, exactly. I'm like, you could at least say strategy. The fact they were saying it's replacing the RTS category. Like, it's going to be the RTS. They weren't even saying replacing the RTS category. They were like, it's the new RTS. What are you talking about? All right, nice counter. Dude, look at SERRAL just looking for value. Gets a gateway, gets a probe, gets a zealot, and then he'll just run away. SERRAL, oh, he's not even going to run away. He's like, you have to deal with this. You have to deal with this. And this is just making it hard for Mana to get established. He's got Storm. He's got double Robo Immortal production. This time, is it a Roach Hydra all in? Oh, it is. Guys, he's going to go Roach Hydra drops. He's going to Doom drop the main because it's Whispers of Gold this map. He's going to drop the main, which is wide open to drops, and he's going to hit this right side. So he's going to split his army. Roachling on the right, Roach Hydra drop on the left. He's got mass Hydras coming in. He's got one more gas. Not many drones building. 70 drones versus 66 probes here. And this, no +2, no infestation. SERRAL, you can see the overlords. He's already got these guys control grouped over here. This group here, he's going to go for 8 overlords to the left, morph a bunch into dropper lords, and then go. He's building more lings as well. Can Mana defend this? If Mana turtles on 3 base and realizes it's happening, sure he can. But that's if he realizes. Right now he's going for a storm drop, which is not the most important thing. And that is going to be so hard because if he loses Templar Archives, Twilight, 3 Gateways, Forge in the main, that's a lot of important tech. He doesn't have many units as well. What's he got? 3 Immortals, 2 Archons, 7. He's got 7 High Templar. He's trying to take a 4th base. He's got to give up on that 4th. Queens and Hydras defend the main base. High Templar, Prism has to pull back. Already 4 Dropper Lords in position on the left side. Immortal, Archon defends the right. Observer sees the Hydras coming through the middle, but that's almost a feint. He's going to deny this base, pull the army to the front on this side, and then he's going to pick up and drop straight into that main base. He wants to pull Mana's army to the front, but you know what? He might not even go for the drop. He might not even have to go for the drop. He's coming forward with those 4 Overlords, but he doesn't need it just yet. Roaches and Hydras going forward, baiting out some Storms, gets an Immortal, gets an Archon, comes in from both sides. SERRAL snipes a High Templar, snipes the second one. A lot of Roaches go down on that right side, but that's okay. He killed a lot of units, and now he goes 8 Dropper Lords into the main base. This is a brilliant play. It's a very big commitment. Mana knows about it. Mana knows about it. Mana has realized what's happening. Does he have the ability to defend it, though? He needs to be underneath. He needs to be underneath. He's a bit too far back. The Zealots do not have charge just yet. Charge has only just started. The Immortals and the Archons trying to defend. If he had a High Templar here with a Storm or 2, he could defend this, but without Storm, it's going to be impossible. There we go. Storms come forward. 1 or 2 big Storms on this could be game-changing. As long as he defends his 3 base, Mana can hold on. This is still a very close game, but the natural wall-off starting to get siege. Nice pick up and drop back on the low ground. SERRAL loses 2 Overlords, but I think they were empty. Gateway goes down. Cybercore about to go down as well. The Robo in the wall is getting incredibly damaged. SERRAL loads back up and goes back to the front. A drone joins the front. He wants to be one of the boys. That's right, guys. It's bring your kids to work day. The Roaches, Hydras bringing their drone children and saying, here you go. Go stab the dirty Protoss. That's what we do. Like, my dad kills Protoss. Yay! You know, I'm like, oh my god, don't bring your kids to battle against lasers and Psystorms unless you're a Zerg and you don't really care about their well-being. If Mana stabilizes, he's absolutely got a shot in this game. Yes, Hive and Lurk has started. Burrow's on the way. I think we'll probably see Tunneling Claws as well. But it's an economic advantage for SERRAL. He's on 4 base versus 3. He's trading pretty well. He's actually ahead on the trading. He's got another High Templar. Got a High Templar. Forced 2 to morph into an Archon. The Roach Hydra taking a good fight. He's got a drop on the left side as well, ready to drop that main. He's forced Mana to pull everything to the front. Mana's getting overwhelmed. He can't defend right now. The Cannons, the Storms trying to hang on, but SERRAL spreading really well. That he needs the Immortals together. The Immortals are what forces SERRAL to clump up to engage them. He needs the Immortals on the front line, but now the Roach Hydra in the back, which means there's nothing to defend there. The High Templar on their own throws out 2 good Storms, does Mana, but he loses both High Templar. Back in the main base, the Immortals trickling in. SERRAL can just pick up and leave. He doesn't even need to stay. There's no anti-air to deal with it. The Archon's getting blitzed there on that side. It looks like Mana did a Storm drop. He played a very good series here, but SERRAL says, I am still SERRAL. You give me a small to medium map, and especially one like this, where that main is wide open, and I love to see SERRAL utilizing the map architecture and abusing the mass drop rotation into the main base. Fantastically well played. Roach Hydra and the Overlords are there. Hydra's hanging out. Ooh, big surround coming in. That's a beautiful 180 surround. Very nice. Flanking in a huge arc. Not enough Storms, Archons, Immortals. Mana gets surrounded. He has to tap out. He puts up a valiant effort, but SERRAL shows he is a very good player, and he's still doing what modern SERRAL is known for, utilizing a wide range of strategies, using the map architecture, and not just doing the same thing every game. Really great play for SERRAL to close out the series 2-1.